my favorite model to go with is a 21-day challenge. And what happens in 21 days, some people might go, 21 days is so long, but there's a reason for that. Like the psychological side of it is 21 days is what they say it takes to form a habit, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're forming the habits that you're teaching them, this knowledge, these skills. But the other thing that it's creating is the habit of consuming your content and being a part of your community.
This is an intro. Intro.
Hustle and flow chart with your boy, my boy, Matt Wolf, Joe Fair.
Hey, we are back with another episode, and this time we are hanging out with a new friend of ours, and she is breaking down a concept we've actually never covered on the podcast before. Her name is Marley Jaxx, and she is a content marketing, storytelling, YouTube and branding video expert. And what she's doing right now is doing these challenges in a unique model where it's a paid challenge, but it actually is a 21-day challenge where she's walking people through these bite-sized chunks of content that really lead them to this graduation event, which you'll see how this turns into a high ticket paid offer for just the right people. So this episode is going to break down, it's going to be super tactical. And if you are curious about how the challenge model works, you see a lot of people using them right now. And there's some different varieties of challenges out there. Well, Marley's going to break down how she's running her 21-day challenges and breaks everything down. I mean, probably way deeper than she was thinking she would break down. We were just nerding out on all the little pieces and things that make up a challenge. And well, this is going to be perfect for you to essentially see how a product can be sold, a lower end product to a low ticket price for the challenge, but then also how that turns into a high ticket offer and how Marley is doing it. And, you know, if you're curious about doing any of these challenges yourself, we have a bunch of resources, you know, we'll put them in the show notes. And at the end of the episode, we'll talk a lot more of how to go and actually go work with Marley, or maybe check out one of the challenges she's doing so you can get some hands-on knowledge for yourself. So in this episode, we're breaking down the challenges for the most part, but then we dig into storytelling and what she uses as some of her frameworks. She talks about Elsa, and we're not talking about the frozen Elsa, Let It Go, but you'll hear what it's all about. Essentially, she has, and this is a way that she brings in branding into all of her content. She creates these unique acronyms or names for things that, you know, have a deeper meaning, of course. And you've seen some people do this before, but what this is helping her do is create superfans. And it also is a framework that she uses for her content, this Elsa framework. But you'll hear the deeper meaning of why she uses things like this. It's all part of her storytelling, her her branding. And then again, it wraps into the whole challenge concept, video marketing concept. We break some of the YouTube stuff down as well. Not nearly as deep as the challenges because, let's be honest, the challenges are hot right now. And I know there's a lot of folks that have asked us about challenges. Well, you can literally use what you learn here with Marley and dive even deeper with her. You know, if you think this is the right model, I highly suggest jumping into her challenge where it actually breaks down how to do this even deeper. She also has a whole challenge that's called the Infinite Video Impact Challenge, where it's a 21-day challenge where it teaches you how to grow, you know, bigger impact with your video and your marketing and your messaging and all that stuff. So she's got it all covered for you here. It's going to be a fun time and you're going to get a lot. So make sure you're grabbing the action guides for this episode. They're totally free as long as you're grabbing them within 2 weeks of this episode going live. And it's very simple, totally free. If you go to flowchartgroup.com, that's going to redirect you to our Facebook group. But as long as you put in your email address and the little questions that it asks you, we'll make sure to get those notes emailed to you right away. So just go to flowchartgroup.com and plug in your email address, answer a couple questions, and you'll get the notes. But you'll also get to hang out with Matt and I and a bunch of the other folks. A lot of the folks that have been on our podcast were on that Facebook group too. So that's the place to be. It's free. Be quick. 2 weeks, flowchartgroup.com. Other than that, let's go head over to Marley and strap in because you are going to get a whole new model broken down for you for the challenges and everything else here. So have fun and I'll see you over there.
All right, Marley, how you doing?
So good. So happy to meet you guys and to be here. It's so fun.
For sure. We've been kind of talking about it, but we have so many mutual friends and just like overlaps in so many spots, and that always makes for a great conversation. And we'll see where this goes. It's going to be a fun one. I know Chris Benetti, we'll give him a big shout out from Members Pro. He hooked it up here, and you guys have worked together for some time, it sounds like, right?
A lot. And I'm almost cautious about any time I say his name. I'm almost going to make him like Voldemort, like the he must not be named, because he's my secret weapon. I tell so many people about him now that I'm like, I don't want him to be unavailable for me because everyone just loves him.
Mm. There's it's like good product, good person, and then follow up personalization. It's a pretty good little trifecta there, you know.
Is this podcast about him now? Is that the new topic of this?
I don't know.
Yeah, this is the Chris Benetti. That's the title of this episode, talking about Chris Benetti.
He paid us. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But let's talk about you because that's why you're here. But yeah, so you're doing some interesting stuff in obviously the YouTube space, branding space. That's what you're most known for. But also the challenges. You have an interesting system there because challenges, like we're seeing a lot of people do them for a reason because they work. Mm-hmm. Like I think yours would be different than some of these other ones. You know, like we've had Roland Frazier on the show. He's a friend of ours, and he's been crushing challenges for the last year. Yeah, and he's like swearing by them. And there's probably good reason behind that too. Oh, I know there is. And but for you, you're doing some cool stuff because you have the YouTube like lead front pushing into this really good sales, like community building sales generation machine to high ticket stuff. So I think we'll focus there for this one. But give us a little backstory because you have a cool story. You do a lot of great storytelling. So
thank you. Which backstory should I start with, like me or the YouTube and the challenge stuff? Because I'm like, I can go both ways.
That's true. It's a little broad. Matt, what do you say?
I want to hear about you. I want to know how you got into entrepreneurship, how you got into marketing. You know, what was your journey into this world that you're in now?
Yeah, when I was in my early 20s, I worked in radio and television and event management, and I worked with some pretty cool big names and celebrities and authors and speakers, some of them that are like the common names and people on our bookshelves. But I was like 20 years old and didn't even realize what I had in front of me. Just so nice. And now I'm like, I could talk to these people. So I think it's cool that I kind of got to absorb some of that before I realized like, I can actually start my own business. But in that industry, in entertainment, there's some egos, not the celebrities themselves. I mean, yes, sometimes, but I'm a little sensitive, got my heart broken a little bit. So I was like, I'm going to leave that for a bit, figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So I went to my fallback plan was, I was a dental hygienist actually first. Mm-hmm. So I was a dental hygienist, cleaning teeth all day, very creative person though. And you can only do so much when you're cleaning teeth all day, every day. So I was really bored and started doing their social media just for fun, like between patients. And it was doing really well because what I was doing is I would get to know the patients. I would know the people at the office, obviously my coworkers, and I would create content around their stories instead of like fun facts about brushing your teeth. Snooze fest. And so then it was getting like great responses, and their IT guy was like, hey, can I refer you to some of my other clients? And, maybe you want to do their social media as well if you have some time. And I'm like, sure, I guess. So he referred me to all of his clients. All of a sudden I have a business and I'm like hiding in the bathroom between patients, posting on social media for these people. And I'm like, I didn't know that I could do this for a living. And so I'm like, maybe I can get more clients. So first of all, I start making these little YouTube videos thinking, well, first of all, I'm just going to answer a lot of questions that I get a lot so that anytime I get these questions, I can send a video instead of me having to answer it all the time. And maybe it'll provide value for other people too. And it did. And my YouTube channel started to grow like really fast. And I was like, I wonder if I can help my clients do this too so that they can get more clients. So then I started asking my social media clients if I can make videos for them. And I'm getting to know their stories about their people and putting that in their content. And I'm doubling down on video, and that starts to blow up. And I'm like, video, that's the key. So I turned my social media agency into a video marketing agency. And now we've been working with clients to help them to explode their YouTube channels and turn that into a content machine, because with YouTube, as you may know, it's a search engine. Like I have videos that I made 4 or 5 years ago that are still ranking in top spots and bringing me leads all day, every day. Even though I made that video years ago, I haven't touched it since or ran any ads to it. So I'm owning space instead of renting it. Mm-hmm. But the problem that I found, and this is part of the backstory when it comes to YouTube and the challenge now, is that I would start to teach. I have this, service where I do this for people, but then I'd have people that would come and say, can you teach me how to do this? So I had a course teaching people how to do this. But then I found the breaking point for them is they would make content, but they didn't know how to monetize it. And I'm like, well, you need a value ladder and you need to know how to sell, like whether it's your product or service. And oh, you need to know how to create an offer. So then it turned into, you can have a content machine, but then you also need the cash flow machine. Like you need to know what the value ladder is and how you're ascending people through it. And that's where I created my own challenge around this same time, because I wanted to make something really accessible for people to learn how to create videos on YouTube. And my challenge did really well. And I was like, what if I teach other people how to build a challenge that their YouTube videos link to? And at the end of a challenge, it's very easy to bring people into your high ticket. So that's how it all was born.
So this is very fascinating, because I know the challenge is generating tons of leads, and it's from YouTube. So I'm curious, like, what's that connection look like there? Like, how are you generating so much leads and momentum on YouTube when I know a lot of folks just kind of struggle with that part?
Yeah, and they struggle because a lot of it, there's different factors. It's a long game. You don't just expect to be YouTube famous overnight. That you have to be using keywords. You're titling your videos based on what people are searching for. One of my first videos, which was the wrong way to do it, I made the video called, "Did you know Instagram does this?" And I tried to be clickbaity, but people aren't Googling or searching in YouTube, "Does Instagram do this?" They're searching for how to make money on Instagram or whatever. So you have to title your videos based on that. But that's not it either. Is there's also the retention. Like, how are people, what are those curiosity hooks that keep people watching? That you're saying something that they need to get all of that information, and then they stay to the end to click the link that you're bringing them into your freebie or your low ticket offer, that then they know, like, and trust you. And the great thing about YouTube is people can binge watch your content and just trust you so much that your conversions are really high too, because they feel like they know you.
So you're kind of using that as like your get to know you phase, huh? And then you're kind of like passing them around the YouTube videos, and then it sounds like you probably have an exit point or some call to action to something relevant like the challenge. So, and I think there's like a
the call to action.
Yeah. And then I know you do. It seems like an omnipresence approach too, in the sense that you're there. I mean, do you extend that? Do you use YouTube ads or any other types of ways to extend what you're doing on YouTube there organically?
We currently aren't using YouTube ads. You can. With YouTube ads, it's not necessarily sending to the content, like not sending, hey, I'm going to run ads to this video like you might on Facebook. You make your own specific ads to maybe send to the challenge that you can retarget people that watched your videos, which that can definitely help. But right now, like, I just recommend creating organic content, because that's a lead generation machine organically.
That's even better. That's even easier. Well, and then to the challenge model, I guess, give us, because the name of your challenge is the Infinite Video Challenge, Impact Challenge. And walk us through that, because I know a lot of people have heard about challenges, but I don't think they actually understand what the model looks like as a business.
Yeah. And there's people that do the model differently. And what I teach is, and you can adjust it, but my favorite model to go with is a 21-day challenge. And what happens in 21 days, some people might go, 21 days is so long, but there's a reason for that. And yes, you might have a 5-day challenge or a 7-day challenge, and it might be short for a reason. For example, I have a client that he does a challenge for like new grads, how to find a job. Well, yeah, when you're looking for a job, like, you got to find a job fast. So 5 or 7 days is appropriate. In this case, with the 21-day challenge, we have kind of the curriculum of here's what you're going to learn week 1, week 2, week 3. So we show and they're given these proprietary names or mechanisms that they think, well, I can't learn this anywhere else. I have to, like, this is intriguing. I don't mind spending 3 weeks because it's going to bring me to a 6 or 7 figure business if I implement this. On the psychological side of it is 21 days is what they say it takes to form a habit, right? And so they're forming the habits that you're teaching them, this knowledge, these skills. But the other thing that it's creating is the habit of consuming your content and being a part of your community. They get in the habit of that. So before the 21 days are even over, they're like, I don't want to leave this. What happens next? How do I continue and stay in the community? I don't want it to be over. And that's where at the end of the 21 days, you have a graduation training, which is a webinar, which can offer them the next step, which can maybe be a $997 offer, or it can be an application to a high ticket.
I love that. Now, with during the 21 days, is this all sort of pre-recorded, pre-created content, or are you working with people every day during the 21 days? How is that sort of structured?
It can be. I prefer live, and I know lots of people that they might, and I teach how you can do this, especially if you want to scale your time. You can do it live the first few times, because I do think that you should. It's not set it and forget it. Don't just like not nurture these people and think, oh, I just can set it and run and do other things. That you can make these videos and then you can drip them out in the challenge. You can use softwares that make it appear like you're live if you feel like that's okay, integrity wise. If sometimes people are like, no, I can't, I could never do that. And I get that. But also for your audience, they like that interaction. And if there's some time for Q&A or just, responding, hey, I saw your video, I saw you're doing great, or just that feedback, and they feel like they have that connection with you. And really it's 5 or 10 minutes a day. So you have 5 or 10 minutes a day to go live to your audience that could bring you 6 figures every month. I think so.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because in my head, when I was thinking of this challenge, I was thinking maybe you were getting on for like an hour long, like daily webinar kind of thing, That
was so daunting. And that's one of the misconceptions that when students come into our program, because I teach how to build these challenges, that they say, well, I'm going to do like a 7-day challenge, but it'll be an hour. And I'm like, like I don't have an hour to spend every day. Even if it's promising me this big result, I really don't. I want it bite-sized and simple. I pay for ease and speed. And that also includes the speed at which I consume the content.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love it. And it's like the perfect indoctrination series, like you're creating super fans during this whole thing, because it's a is it free challenge or is it like a low ticket?
Low ticket. And
interesting.
I have clients that test the free challenge, and every time they go back to paid, because when people pay, they pay attention. They might get a bunch of people that sign up, but do they complete it? Not as much. So you have to look at the engagement rate, the conversion, the retention, and then how many people are actually showing up. They're incentivized to show up. We gamify the challenge too. Like you earn these badges every day when you complete the challenge. When they complete the challenge, we put like a little badge post in the Facebook group, and we get them to comment under it when they've completed it and to share their takeaways. Well, guess what? Those takeaways become screenshots as social proof for when you advertise the challenge again.
So I'm assuming everything's in the Facebook group then, right? So you're streaming everything. Okay. So the tool stack, I mean, you already mentioned before we started Ecamm, you use that for everything. So is there someone trying to do one of these challenges, are there a set of tools that, or, things that people have to invest in, or is it literally as easy as just some of the basic Ecamm tools and free Facebook group?
Well, even Ecamm, like you could do it Facebook Live from your phone. That's how I did many of the challenges, was just straight from my phone. The basics that you need is just to outline your curriculum of what are you teaching them every day for 21 days? What's the action item that you're giving them that you're going to tell them to do every day after you teach your content? 5 or 10 minutes, that's all it needs. Nice. And then at the end of that, what's the graduation training that you're going to teach them that then has an offer to ascend to the next level of your value ladder?
Yeah. And then 21 days. I mean, that's just, if you're getting repetitive, like 21 days, here's a new next step. It's almost like you're just like bite-sized chunking it out to whatever goal you set. How do you frame it? Like, is there a specific goal they know they're working towards specifically? Yeah. Like, how do you put that out there?
It's your, like, whatever the unique selling proposition of the channel. So mine is learn how to create these videos like that are evergreen assets that are like having an army of salespeople spreading your message around the world, around the clock, perpetually forever. So I'm like, you're going to have this video strategy and know how to have videos that are assets, that are evergreen lead generation machines. By the end of this challenge, you're going to have those videos out and you're going to know how you can long after the challenge is over.
Nice. Yeah. I love this model because it's almost takes the launch model, but it's allowing people to really get to know you, and like you're kind of just getting the best of the best clients out of this whole sequence. And what the graduation webinar, I'm kind of curious about that now, because that seems like where the most of the action, like all the people, the tire kickers have kind of left by that point, I'm assuming, after 21 days and paying some money. Obviously you're going to have some drop off. How does the graduation webinar, and if we're going too far down the weeds and giving away everything you do, then you could stop us. But how does that graduation webinar look? Like, is it a standard kind of webinar that you would see?
Yeah, typically it is. And you can use a 3 secrets webinar or some sort of storytelling webinar that then leads into a pitch. And so mine follows like Russell Brunson's perfect webinar formula. I have the headline, 3 secrets, and then a pitch. And I offer them a $9.97 program that they can take. But then I also, on the $9.97, like when they sign up, I also offer on the thank you page an application to the next level for a coaching program. So from the challenge, you can have people go into the next step or jump ahead 2 steps in the value ladder, or jump ahead. Like sometimes we have people that come into the challenge, that they get to know me. And one of the things that we have in our funnel, I think it's the order bump. It's an implementation call. So they sign up for an implementation call, and we've had people jump straight from the implementation call into our high ticket because they're just like, I'm sold. I just wanted to see what Marley does, and now I'm in. And they get the sneak peek, they get the taste, and then they jump in. The other thing is, even if they don't accept, if they aren't ready for the $9.97 offer or whatever it is you're pitching from the graduation training, you can downsell them into, maybe you have a low ticket membership site, or a lot of people will take the challenge again. I've had people take my challenge up to 6 times.
Wow. That's kind of cool. Because now, I mean, yeah, everyone has they come in at a different level of readiness or expertise, and
well, there's a community and accountability element that they probably don't want to lose as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's super fun.
How about because I know, I mean, we were talking about like storytelling. You read, I mean, you've been nerding out on that. So go down the storytelling vein. Yeah, like I think there's a lot of like story arc built into 21 days, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I have a whole formula.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the 21-day sort of sequence that you've got mapped out, I'm assuming on day 1, when you start the very first day, you already know exactly what's going to come out day 2, day 3. It's pretty much all mapped out. So where do you kind of start there? Like what's the first step to kind of map out this story arc we're going to take them through over the next 3 weeks?
I kind of chunk it into the 3 weeks that I'm like, by the end of the week 1, you're going to have this. Week 2, you're going to have this. Week 3, you're going to have this. So I pre-frame from day 1, like this week is all about this. By Sunday, by day 7, you're going to have this. And then same thing and same thing. And then the individual days I'm creating, it's cool that you already talked about the story arc. Like I love growing up as a kid, I was obsessed with Disney movies, but also the behind the scenes of how like the production and the storytelling and looking at and working in radio and television. I had some behind the scenes of the production and the story arc, the A story, the B story, the C story. And so I tried to put that into our content too. And I have this framework, I call it the Elsa framework. And I kind of joke about it. And I'm like, yes, your favorite snow queen, but for the purposes of this, do not let it go. And then that
like it.
And it's funny because I was thinking about this frame or the acronym, and I was like, I could have also spelled the word sail. Sail would have also made Elsa sailed the same letters.
Yeah.
But
Elsa, cool. Elsa's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Elsa is Epiphany Lesson Story Application. So before every lesson, and I do this for every single piece of content, for my YouTube videos, for a live event, for a webinar, anything, I'm looking at the Elsa. So what is the epiphany that I want them to have from this video? And the way I decide the epiphany is I think of what their objections are going to be. What false beliefs that I have to break. I have to make my story better than their story, whatever story is going on in their head that they're telling themselves. So I think I already decide what's the epiphany I want them to have. What's the lesson that I give to them so they can take away and have something tangible? However, I don't want to be preachy kindergarten teacher at the front of the classroom, like step 1, step 2, step 3, and boring and robotic. So I teach it through a story. So the lesson is taught through a story. And then the A is for application. And the application is typically the proprietary mechanism that I'm going to teach them, or the call to action. I'm going to say, hey, go away, and here's your exercise or whatever that you're going to do following this specific framework. And I don't just tell them, I give a name to the exercise that's specific to me. So I might teach them the Elsa framework, and I'm saying, I'm going to go build your Elsa. So that I'm not just saying, hey, go write a story. It's specific, and they'll connect that back to me. And that's what also builds the community and makes them feel like this is the go-to person. This is the person that I want to learn from, because these are frameworks that I can't get anywhere else.
So is it like the 3-week chunks? Are you is it kind of like a blend of Elsa happening in each video, or is it like this theme happening in like these chunked out periods of time?
Yeah, every video has an Elsa. Like every
individual
day. So for example, there's a day where I talk about your storylines and about retention in the videos. And I might talk about, me growing up loving movies and studying movies and thinking of your favorite directors like Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese. They don't just start the movie from the intro and then like wing it. They already know the emotional journey they want to take their audience on. And so I kind of paint that picture, and I might give some examples of like, hey, who's seen the movie Rocky or who's seen Indiana Jones, and like talk about the story that the hero goes through, and that when they hit rock bottom, their audience is on the journey for the whole way up, and that's what makes them cheer louder when they win. And so I paint that picture for them to say, you have to bring your audience on the journey, even when it's hard. When you hit rock bottom, that's when they need to see you the most, because when you are on your up, like they're gonna be cheering you on, and they're gonna be like, I got to witness that, I got to be a part of it, and that's gonna create the relationship, which is gonna lead to the sales.
That's cool. So you're like involving them along the entire way. You're investing your story, but really in their story in their minds as well. You're kind of like, bringing them into your world that way. Yeah. What better way? Again, like 21 days of challenge to do that every single day that way. What are some anything on story front?
No.
I'm just thinking on like the challenge front. Are there like some challenge, like some issues that people have when they start one of these challenges? Like, have you noticed some glaring things that people just like, okay, don't do that?
A lot of them, like we kind of already mentioned, like they think, oh, I'll talk for an hour. I'll just teach the thing for an hour. Like, no, it has to be bite-sized. They will maybe give too much away. And it's not that I'm saying hold things back, but they just kind of word vomit all over. Like, here's my big curriculum. And it doesn't have to be like, it needs to be concise. And if you have pieces that you need to expand, turn it into, hey, over the next 3 days, I'm going to teach you the 3 pieces of this framework. Day 1 is piece 1, 2, and 3. And then the other pieces that you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to teach this. Guess what? Wait until the graduation training. And that's where you can blow their minds even more. The other thing that I coach my students through so much is kind of like I mentioned, the proprietary mechanisms. I had a client that he is a peak performance coach. And he is also a hypnotist. Like he has traveled all over the world hypnotizing and working with celebrities and athletes and big names. But of course, when 2020, he couldn't do events or travel as much anymore. So his income just like plummeted. So he was like, how can I move this online? And I introduced him to the idea of a challenge. And he's like, cool, how about I do a 21-day mindset challenge? And I said, well, that's vanilla. Like you can Google that. I can watch a YouTube video. What do you have to offer that I can't just find in a book? And so we came up with some proprietary mechanisms. And so for him, we came up with the subconscious reset challenge, where he teaches his mental end game activation system. So does that like pique some interest? Like I didn't even tell you anything about what it's about. I didn't send you through a whole sales page of copy of this is why you need to get this and trying to convince you of the benefits. Like just the name makes you kind of raise your eyebrows, right?
Definitely. I like that a lot, because then people attach, obviously that's your USP right off the bat. So there's no comparables to anything you put out if you keep naming everything. And I know it's a big piece of even creating a tribe. You know, you now have this language that you guys can kind of keep in your circle, the Elsas, all the other stuff along the way. I came up with this funny thing. It was totally an accident. It was in one of my first challenges. I think it was like challenge 2 or 3. I kind of went on a little funny rant. It was during a Q&A, so it was a longer session. But someone was saying, like, what do you see people doing wrong with their content all the time? I was like, I'm so glad you asked. I hate when people start their Facebook lives, and disclaimer for anyone, I bet half of people do this. I'm not like putting you down or anything, but just it's something that when you're aware of it, you know how when someone points out, or if you're aware that you say or ah or like, you're aware of it. Sure.
And it's anyway. How many times have you heard someone start a live, or you yourself, because I sure have, start a Facebook live with, hey guys, just popping in real quick.
Popping in, yeah, kind of, sort of, yeah, a variation of that for sure.
Jumping in real fast, hopping in, just wanted to talk really quick about. And I was like, why are we popping in everywhere? We're here to have a very significant impact on our audience. We are here to share our message. And I don't want you to start any of your videos apologizing for taking up space on their timelines, because that's what it feels like. You're like, hey, just pop in real quick. Like, don't go. I won't take up too much of your time. That's what the subtext of that feels like. So and then people in the comments were like, hashtag stop the pop. We put it on t-shirts. Like,
Stop the pop.
T-shirt that says hashtag stop the pop. And they'll call each other out when you just did a stop the pop. Like, or they're like, I didn't realize I've been doing that for so long. And it's just because we see everyone else do it. But then when you look at maybe what's the psychology underneath that, that's not how we want to show up.
Not at all. Well, you're not committing to whatever you're trying to give out to the world with this value that you uniquely have. Everyone does. But if you're not confident, it's that subconscious or subtext. Oh, just pop it in. Hope it doesn't bug you. It's like, come on. They're not going to be on Facebook if it's not going to bug them. Get the hell out. Watch the dang video.
Totally devalues you a little bit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. You need that hook, not just popping in real quick to hook story offer. Hook story offer.
I like it. Hook story offer. Damn it. Stay with that. I'm seeing that with.
So hook story offer. Damn it.
There's your title, man. You're welcome.
That will be the title, actually.
How about this is kind of a tangent, but only because I see people do this at Clubhouse now and all these other areas. I know we talked about Clubhouse before we recorded, but kind of curious I'm sure you're seeing it there because there's people like, oh, just wanted to pop in and say something really fast. And it's like, just say the damn thing.
Or they give too much background. Just want to tell you a little bit about me. And
oh my gosh.
That's the worst.
when we run Clubhouse rooms now, we're getting on a tangent here, but when we run Clubhouse rooms now, I always start off by saying, jump in and say what you're going to say. Your bio exists for a reason and people are clicking and looking at it. So just say what you're going to say.
Pretty much.
Go.
So are you using Clubhouse? I know we were just talking about this before, but do you have a strategy where it's paired up with the challenge or anything there? Or are you just kind of seeing what happens?
I haven't yet. I'm very intrigued by Clubhouse. At first, when I saw it, it was like around the Christmas holidays. It was just, I couldn't escape my timeline on Facebook with like, oh my God, Clubhouse. And at first I'm like, is this just a shiny object, like another thing? But I'm on it and I love it. I've been part of rooms that I feel like I should have had to pay thousands of dollars to get that information. Yeah. And I would go back to my team and be like, we have to implement this. And I love it. I have not hosted my own room or anything yet. I've just kind of jumped in and shared value where I can. But what a great opportunity to speak with people who are at a high level, who you want to be able to connect with that maybe you wouldn't be able to over just sliding into their DMs or being introduced at an event, because there's usually lots of people at events, not this year, but
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great app, and I have thought about, well, maybe I should post a room about value ladders and challenges.
I mean, 100% you should, because we've been doing rooms, and I'm not as methodical on like connecting to something, but all relevant to what we do, podcast growth, monetization. But I would try it definitely, and then deck out the profile with whatever, relevant offer. I don't know. It just seems like the coolest thing to do to connect with people at scale that actually are super relevant to you too, and they're looking for your stuff. So something to think about, but it's a time suck. We did a whole episode on it. We're like, you got to put a container in your time or else your day's gone, or you're going to get slapped around by your family.
Yeah. Well, back to the sort of challenge thread that we were on. Is there any things that you do to ensure people keep coming back? Like, I guess you're doing the gamification, right? You're doing the badges, and that's really cool. Are there any other elements that you're doing that get people excited to keep popping back in every day for 3 weeks?
Great question. So we have other incentives for them to stay through. Like, it's not just earning your badge every day. We also have, at the end of the challenge, we have 3 grand prizes. And so it's $1,000 cash, access to my $997 course. So we tease that at the beginning, and then we also sell it. And then also filming equipment and tripods and ring lights and just fun little things like that. Access to the next challenge, swag. And then so they're also incentivized to earn all their badges. So because there's these big grand prizes at the end, and you can't win those. You can't be eligible for those unless you complete all your badges. The other thing that you have to do is attend the graduation training live, because that's where I'm going to be announcing the winner. And if you're not there, you don't win it. So they also have to attend the webinar. The other thing they have to do is they have to submit their transformation story. And that's just a post in the Facebook group, whether it's a video or a written post, sharing how they've transformed over these 21 days. And I get to use that as social proof. for
So
the next
brilliant. It's so brilliant because you get the testimonials, you get the social proof, the webinar, the people that actually show up on the webinar after 21 days, they are going to be the absolute hottest prospects because they're the people that followed directions and were with you for 21 days and now know you and know your processes, trust what you're doing. I mean, just the whole flow of it is just so well thought out and so smart.
One more thing we have is we have custom swag for people who have graduated the challenge. So they can get an alumni t-shirt when they complete the challenge. And you only get that when you sign up for the next challenge.
Interesting. Is the next challenge another the same challenge or do you have other? You do. Okay. Yeah.
But people collect these t-shirts.
How cool is that? Yeah. I mean, so, I'm more familiar with the shorter challenge model that like, we just already talked about like Roland Fraser's doing it, but it's very similar. But it's so fascinating the types of ways you can do engagement. Like I know he has homework like on his, and so like the next day they'll on the lives they'll have someone share their homework, or like they'll do the whole raise your hand who did the homework, who did all of this, but and then constantly giving away little free courses, whatever. And there's no other way I can think of doing this in a linear contained fashion that's a launch, but it's not really a launch. It's just this a big event that you have like the most attention on this one thing that is the most important, and it's all in bite-sized chunks, which I mean, come on, can't get better than that because most courses are just like, let me just throw everything at you with this multiple hour-long videos.
Yeah, it has like built-in urgency and scarcity in it, because if everyone else is on day 5 and you haven't started yet, you're like, oh, I got to catch up. Look at all these people are getting, and because you can see it in the Facebook group. So it's happening now. And if you don't keep up, you're missing the bus. So instead of just having a course that they can buy, exactly like you said, it creates FOMO for people if they're not keeping up.
So can people buy once the challenge already started, or is there like a sort of open enrollment window? The window shuts and then the challenge starts.
We close it. We have, so if it starts on a Monday, we say doors close at midnight on Sunday. But then we have done things where we're like, hey, it's not too late. It just started. Like you can get in there, watch the replay. And we've done things before, like if we wanted to increase registration, where we would show a preview of day 1 on our social media and say, hey, this is a sneak peek at day 1. You want the rest? Sign up. But we never really take it past like day 2 or 3. We've had people that will just email us, be like, please let me in. Or we're like, okay, yeah, sure. But no, we usually open it a week or 2 before the challenge starts, and you're in or out.
Very cool. And then how frequently do you run these challenges?
Every 6 to 8 weeks. So they're pretty much just rolling.
Gotcha. Cool. So pretty much whenever one of them wraps up, you're kind of gearing up to launch the next one.
Because even though it's 21 days, the graduation training is on day 22. And then you have open cart for 5 days. And then you have the downsell, or you have the upsell open cart for another 3 or 4 days. And then you have the downsell open cart for another 3 or 4 days. So it really works out to be like 5 weeks.
I mean, that's like, it's a perfect contained model. That's why ever since I heard about the challenge model, it's like you have the lead gen on the upfront, which I guess we didn't talk about the lead gen aspect of it really. Like, so is there any tips that you can, I mean, obviously landing page, do you give away a freebie lead magnet type of thing on the front end, or is there even any of that before the sales page?
We have we have other lead magnets, but then the thank you page of it will tell them about the challenge, or the email sequence will tell them about the challenge. And we just have ads running from the challenge. Sometimes our YouTube videos will link to the challenge. We typically go to a freebie and then the challenge, because at least you've built that trust. It's a smaller commitment. But yeah, we send them straight to the challenge page, and we incentivize them. We incentivize them with, if you sign up before this date, you're also going to get these 3 bonuses. And they're just extra bonus trainings on like YouTube monetization, our scripting structure, and a never before seen presentation that I did at Russell Brunson's Inner Circle.
Nice. Sorry for all that berating of questions and challenges. I feel like we're just like
it's really just fascinating. Quite honestly, it's a topic we're almost 400 episodes in on this show, and it's a topic we've never really discussed before. Right. Yeah. So we're just fascinated.
And we see them everywhere. And I mean, I'm almost thinking like maybe there's too many challenges, but I feel like you can, like you talked about with your client, there's always these variations in ways that you can name your challenges.
You can call it a workshop. You can call it a journey. You could call it a blueprint. You can call it, just give it a different name.
For sure. Yeah. How about, so here's something, this is kind of a diversion, but I know you're all about branding. That's one of the big things that you do. And that's one of the things that we haven't really thought of in our business. I mean, we've made these nice shirts, but we just hired our buddies to do that. And we like them. But everything else, like, are there any like, and maybe this relates to challenges too, but like any brand like must do's for a digital marketer that you see other people just like, what are you doing? Like you're like slapping your head, your face, and you're just like, why? Like, I mean, perfect example. Our website is Evergreen Profits. Our podcast is Hustle and Flowchart. The only thing you're going to see on Evergreen Profits is basically Hustle and Flowchart. So obviously a disconnect there. People are like, what the hell is Evergreen Profits? So, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious from your branding sense and experience. Like, are there any glaring things that marketers should kind of be aware of that they're probably missing the boat on?
I don't know if it's glaring, because I think it's something that you just start to, open the blinders on as you are introduced to it. But what I mentioned about the proprietary mechanisms that a lot of time our business is our baby, and we feel like our baby is the most beautiful ever. And we are so we are in love and we're drinking our own Kool-Aid. That when you bring it to your audience, they're like, well, what do I care about your peak performance challenge? I can just go Google that if I really want to work on my peak performance. But subconscious reset, you're like, what's that? Mental endgame activation system, what's that? So just naming things with your proprietary spin on it, because that's what's going to connect people to you, to your brand. And then parts of the stories that you share, like I mentioned, the stop the pop thing, people hear other people say that in their videos, they connect it back to me. So
that's cool. Yeah. That makes sense, because that's all stuff that us marketers can kind of get around fairly easily.
I had a client message me. He's like, he was trying to come up with his proprietary mechanism, and he said something to me about, he's like, I was thinking about this name, or I was thinking about this name. And he's like, if someone didn't what do you say? Use the word infinite, because my challenge is infinite impact. We also have an infinite cash flow blueprint. And so we use the word infinite in a lot of our stuff. And he's like, I can't use that word anymore. So how if you hear the word infinite, you might think of my stuff. If you hear the word momentum, you might think of Alex Sharpin. If you hear the word secrets, you might think of Russell Brunson. And it's just these, because they're so attached to their brand, it's a word. It's in the dictionary. But because we used it attached to our brand, there's a way that it just like ping psychologically makes these people think about you and your brand.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably way more powerful than like even what I was thinking about with branding. It's like, oh, just think up the names and this. But I love the fact that it's like, yeah, you find something that's just in the community that they're using a term like the whole, popping in or pop it kind of thing. It's like, create some swag around that and then share it with your customers and cinema. Yeah. Like Alex Sharpin's a perfect example. He sent us, I think it was after we had him on the podcast, he sent us this welcome box that had the millionaire, I'm sure you've received it. Yeah. It's freaking brilliant. And we're like, we should do this, because we already send stuff in the mail, but like, it's such a cool curated box that means that it has the billionaire code, like things that he talks about with his tribe. And I'm like, this is so cool.
And it's so cool that as you're building that tribe, your audience will come up with names that they love. Like, I didn't name them Infinite Impact Army. They came up with that name. Or my last name is Jaxx. They said, oh my God, I just got jaxed. And I was like,
the best.
Hilarious. They're like, put it on a t-shirt. And I was like, okay. And that's how our t-shirt line started, that we have shirts. And then on the back, like the name bar, everything says #gettingjaxed. So I'm public, and so many of the people that wear this shirt, they're like, oh my gosh, someone at the grocery store asked me what getting jaxed means. And it's just funny, it's hilarious that when your audience, when they come up with it, like listen to the language they're using and then speak it back to them.
Yeah, we actually had a couple audience members suggest that we start calling our audience hustlers, right? Hustle and Flowchart. So we should start saying hustlers. But we actually put we squashed it. We're like, we don't really want to call everybody hustlers, because we're not, the name Hustle and Flowchart didn't come from hustle grind culture. It came from like it was sort of like a nickname kind of thing. But when people started suggesting we start referring to our audience as hustlers, we're like, no, I don't think that feels right.
Yeah, and there's other things. We're like, nah, we're good on that one.
Yeah,
But keep 'em
hustler's
coming.
also another brand that has already existed that is not something we want to associate our brand with. So
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I love the whole thing. I mean, how do you, I guess it'd be, if you're not getting feedback, just ask for feedback, but like surveying, Facebook, I mean, there's so many ways that you could probably spark, the freaking, feedback of your people. I mean, our team, we've been starting to do that now is like, hey, what are you seeing that we're not seeing? And like, kind of let us know in the business, like, how does the business work? But also like having them like, hey, what are some terms that you just hear us using all the time on this podcast? Maybe.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I hate the phrase like, can I pick your brain?
Mhm.
And I always tell my students, I'm like, don't let people pick your brain because your brain is very expensive. And so if I want that feedback from my audience, I think of what's in it for them. Like, how can I provide value while they're also giving me value so that I can give them more value? So what I do is I do Q&As. In my first, I think like 6 challenges, I did Q&As every weekend, an hour each day, Saturday and Sunday. So I was giving them 6 hours of Q&As in these challenges. And the questions that they were asking me showed me the gaps in my curriculum or showed me the next step in the curriculum to give them, that I'm giving them whatever in the 21 days, but then the next thing they wanted to know about. And so I put that into our stack or into the next programs. The other thing that we've done, like I did a live event this year and virtual, and I wanted to get their feedback on it. But instead of just like, hey, here's a survey, would love to know your feedback, because what's the conversion on that? Instead, what we did is we gave them access to our next challenge if they filled that out and said, hey, we would love your feedback. And we know that your time is valuable and we never want to pick your brain or assume that your time, that you can just, spare us your time. So in exchange for this valuable feedback, which I promise you, I'm going to take this very seriously and turn it into better content for you as I move forward. But if you would spare me 5 minutes to fill out this type form, I'm going to give you the challenge. And you don't have to put your name on it. You can just now fill out this form and Scouts Honor will put you in there. Or sometimes I'll put posts in our Facebook group. If I could wave a magic wand and solve a problem for you, what would that be? Or if I was sitting across from you having coffee, what would you want us to talk about?
That's so perfect. Yeah. You can get everything you need from just that alone.
It's kind of just a different way of asking it. Like, hey, what kind of content do you want me to create? It's a little more self-serving, or just not the same as like, if I could wave a magic wand for you, kind of gets you that, I don't know, the imagery of like, oh, like Marley's going to be my fairy godmother. What?
Exactly. It puts you as like, oh, well, you obviously have the power to do this. So it's like, you just got to figure out what's your wish? I'll be your genie.
One way to do it too. Hey, that's a good way you could ask that question.
There you go. Yeah. I think I've drained my brain of questions around challenges. Everything I don't know if there's anything we missed that's glaring that you think we should cover, Marley.
I gave you all of it.
I know, you amazing. Thank you. And I hope so I think it's only right to like, how can folks find actually how to build challenges with you and maybe actually experience your challenges?
We have a whole blueprint that can teach you how to create your own challenge, and that's at infinitecashflowblueprint.com. And so we have a video series there that can take you through these 6 steps. And we also offer on there, if you want to just get on a call with our team and see how we can help you with it, our other strategies, then you can book a call with us.
Right on. Yeah, that's cool. Do you see yourself with the challenges just kind of, would that change in the future when events open up, or is this going to be a long-term thing for you, this business model?
It's amazing. Like, I'm always optimizing and tweaking it, but I can't imagine ever ending it, because what I teach in my challenge, people are always going to need to know how to create content. Right. As platforms change, I'll probably update the videos as we get more feedback or more questions that we see them asking. I already do. I update the videos with, oh, this was asked, or I keep that in mind for part of the graduation training. But it works so well. The only thing that I would change is just different front ends to keep leading to the challenge.
Mm-hmm. Keep it fresh. Yeah. I like that. Another question. I have way more questions than normal today. I don't know. There's something with you. This is jumping back to the storytelling. Like, are there any resources or books? I know, Matt, you're sitting on a couple books back here, but like from your perspective that you think that are like must reads?
One of my favorite books that I read recently, and it's not like educational on storytelling, but was a great example of storytelling. I read, it's called Ride of a Lifetime by Robert Iger. He was the former CEO at Disney.
Yeah.
And from the intro, he tells the story of what was supposed to be the best day of his career, but it was actually within days of each other, was the Orlando nightclub shooting. And when the boy at Disney was attacked by an alligator. And that same day he was opening Shanghai Disney. And so he's telling this story about like something he'd worked so hard for, but yet he is just heartbroken because some of his staff employees were hurt in the shooting. And then, of course, this boy, and there's just this tragedy. And just from like, that's in the intro, and you are hooked. And then he goes through and tells the rest of the stories of his career. And every chapter is a lesson, but instead of just like, let me teach you this, and here's why, and here's how you should implement it, he tells it through a story. So, which is kind of like what I explained with the Elsa formula, that it's great storytelling. So I would say that one, just to read it and ask yourself why you're so captivated by it and how you can do that in your storytelling.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Learn through like osmosis of that amazing story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That reminds me of the Losing My Virginity book, the Richard Branson one, where you feel like you're reading like an action novel, but it's really just Richard Branson's life.
Yeah.
I love reading biographies because of that. And just observing, why am I captivated by that? I even sometimes, one of my favorite things to scroll through, and it's terrible but also educational, is the news tab on Facebook, which can be negative, and I scroll past it, but I'm not reading it for the news, I'm reading it for the headlines.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I saw one yesterday that I was like, this is why we need to study headlines. It was London Zoo rejects Ricky Gervais's dying wish to be eaten by tigers.
That's pretty good.
Or lions, by lions. And it's just like, what the heck is this? But so when content grabs your attention, instead of just consuming it, also observe that. Ask yourself why.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. I don't think I've ever looked at Facebook news, actually. I always go like Reddit news.
I use Reddit news a lot.
Twitter. But yeah, no. It's probably different stuff. I mean, it's probably different headlines. It'd be interesting to think.
Yeah. I get a variety of politics and weather and celebrity news and stuff, but it's weight loss stuff. That's always interesting to see. But it's also really helpful. So for example, I'm filming with my client, Christy Code Red, in a few days, and she's weight loss and keto and all these things that are it's a very saturated market. So how do you stand out in the market? Well, look at what other people are doing. Instead of just like, hey, here's my 3 secrets to weight loss. The headline that I read that spurred ideas for me was the keto diet never worked for me. I changed these 2 things and then I lost 68 pounds. And so it's not just like how I lost weight, and it's not just how I lost 68 pounds, and it's not just how the keto diet works. It was all of those things together. There are like 3 different hooks inside of that one headline.
Yeah, and there's so much that works about that too. Like people who have tried keto and it didn't work for them are going to be gravitated to it. And yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Good reminder. Yeah.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, all y'all listening, and I'm telling you myself, anytime you're stuck on copy or headlines, like there you go, your inspiration's right there where you're probably addicted to anyway. Facebook.
You don't realize that what you're consuming could be so educational for you too. So when someone tells you to get off your phone, just say that you're also learning.
There you go. That's the excuse. Clubhouse is pretty good.
Get off and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. So Infinite Cash Flow Blueprint, that's where everybody can go get hooked up with the model that you follow. Is there anywhere else that you'd want people to check out? Social media accounts, follow you on Clubhouse, anywhere else you want to send people?
My Instagram stories are my playground. I try to be a stand-up comedian there, and I'm not a stand-up comedian, but I think I'm funny. So if you come over there, I document my day and what we're doing, and document what our processes in our business. So I think it's educational, but I also try to be funny. So come over there and join me at Marley Jaxx.
At Marley Jaxx. And what's your Clubhouse username? Same thing?
Also Marley Jaxx, same with YouTube. YouTube in 2021, I'm documenting my journey to 100,000 subscribers. That's I'm calling my shot.
Nice.
And want to make 7 figures just from YouTube. So come follow us there, and you can see the journey and learn how to do it too.
Cool. Well, you gained at least 2 followers. So
you got us. Thank you so much. This is super cool. So yeah, we'll link everything in the show notes for everybody listening. Thank you, Marley. Been great. Sup.
Yo.
All right, so the challenge model is pretty damn hot.
Yeah, and you just got a masterclass in it.
No kidding. No, you did.
Yeah.
And you did too.
Well, it is kind of interesting that we know quite a few people that are successfully running challenges, but I don't think it's been a topic of discussion on the show yet until this one.
No, not at all. Yeah. I know we mentioned Roland Frazier. He's been running his epic challenges. We called it out as a CTA, and we've been through it. It's a different style challenge from this, but like similarities for sure. I thought, but yeah, this was like the most I've learned about a challenge specifically. Yeah. And it's a different type. Like this, actually, I might even prefer Marley's a little bit more than those other ones. They're different, I guess. Like there's 5 or 7 days. This is 21 days.
Yeah, so this one's more day commitment, but less of a time commitment per day.
That's
the way Roland is doing it is it's less days, but he invests like a long time. Like, isn't some of those sessions like multiple hours?
Oh yeah. I think it depends on the day, but yeah, it's multiple hours. This is daily. I don't think Roland's is. Sometimes they are, but I think there's like sometimes a gap.
Yeah, and this one's 21 days, but it's only 10 minutes a day, essentially.
Right.
Where Roland might be 5-6 days, and each day you can expect to spend 2 hours or so on those calls.
It's a commitment, but it's obviously condensed commitment into like a week, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting because I don't think you can, I don't know what the best answer is, but it's probably test it out and try and see.
Yeah.
But I love this model because it seems like and I love the way that Marley even, it combats the everyone has a challenge thing, even though everyone does not. But like you're seeing more challenges pop up in different niches, and but the way to get around the being competitive against another challenge or whatever is the unique mechanism, or I forget the terminology she called it, but like basically the headline and how you describe your challenge. I thought it was really cool when she was breaking down that with the client.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really like the challenge model. I think it's the thing that I like about this so much, it actually reminds me of going back to like Andre Chaperon's Autoresponder Madness back when that came out. I really feel like the brilliance of that course when it came out was you buy the course, and then when you buy the course, it was 30 or 60 days. I don't remember the exact length of the course, but it sort of trained you. I don't know if that's the right word, but it sort of he sent one email a day, and there was a different lesson in each email. And throughout the course of this 30 or 60 days, you would sort of learn and understand how to do better storytelling in your emails. Yeah. Right. And this sort of accomplishes the same thing. It's like you sign up, it's 21 days. You get to spend every day. You're spending at least 10 minutes a day with Marley. And then by the time the webinar rolls around, you already love the the type of content. You love the person presenting the content. You like everything is lined up, and you've just spent 21 days getting indoctrinated. And basically, by the time you get to the end of the 21 days, you're ready to be her ideal customer in her next phase, right?
And are we going to do a challenge?
I don't know, because we've said on this podcast that we're going to do a lot of things that we never actually did. So what's the point?
I know. We'll keep that off the airwaves here.
Yeah,
just in case to spare someone from reaching out and like.
I think it's funny how many times we get on this podcast and go, "Hey, here's a little teaser of something we're going to be working on in the next few months," and then like never come back around to it.
Well, let's just play around with this for fun. I think it was Andre Chaperon that also brought up the whole Dean Jackson thing, where it takes, I think Dean was saying 90 days. I think it was Andre. Was it Andre?
I don't remember. I need more context. So.
Well, the whole Dean Jackson and how long it takes to really convert most of the sales of someone. So like most people feel like, you got to get someone to make a commitment or a sale basically from day one or really close.
Yeah, that was Andre and Sean talking about it. Yeah.
And Dean Jackson, this was from, this is a callback to a previous episode that Andre, Chaperone One and Sean, is, like really you have this 90-day period where the bulk of your sales are made much further, along the path, more towards 90 days in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the power of email follow-ups in their case. But in Marley's case, yes, it's condensed to 21 days, but you're seeing her every single day. It's gamified. You're probably getting emails along with,
and you're getting freaking results. I mean,
results. Yeah.
So during this lower ticket challenge, right? You're spending 21 days. She's telling you what steps to be taking throughout these 21 days. Ideally, at the end of the 21 days, you got the result that you signed up for. And if you got the result that you signed up for, when she goes and sells you, all right, now that you got this result, are you ready for me to help you get the next result? Mm-hmm. You're ready to buy because she just proved to you that she got you results. It's like the George Bryant thing, right? When we talked to George Bryant and he was talking about how when somebody opts into your list and you give them this lead magnet, you make sure that they get what you promised from that lead magnet before you ask for the sale. Mm-hmm. So you give them that opt-in thing that you give them, and there's going to be some sort of promise attached. Download this. I'll show you how to make affiliate revenue in 2 weeks. Just follow my blueprint, right? Well, for 2 weeks, your job is to make sure that they get the result that you just promised. And if you get the result that you just promised, then at the end of those 2 weeks, you're going to be primed to buy whatever's next because you know that this person sticks with you until you get results. This challenge concept that Marley was breaking down achieves the same thing. You spend 21 days with her, you get indoctrinated to her and liking her style and her content, but you also get a result by the end of 21 days, which primes you to get the next result with her.
Mm-hmm. Which is that conversion at the end, and then the results come from that. From that webinar. Man, I love the way that she's creating her own language during these challenges. Mm-hmm. It's indoctrinating them even deeper into her, and her methodology. That's the big thing. There's a framework here that she's walking people through. And then at the same time, like if people go and like, I don't know if I'm going to buy from Marley, like in this graduation, this webinar, but I'm just going to go to YouTube and dink around and try to figure it out myself. It's like, hey, good luck.
Yeah.
Because she's basically taking you through her own thing.
Yeah.
And everyone can do that if you just maybe get the feedback from your audience or just start thinking a little differently.
And I also love the tip too on sort of branding and titling stuff, right? Like we've done that a little bit. I think we can do it better. Right? Like we've got the PAG method, which is our traffic strategy, or as Bob Serling calls it, the PAG method.
PAG.
He's like, everybody needs to go get the PAG method, right? We've got our affiliate promotion engine, which we call our APE blueprint, right?
The KST. It doesn't really roll off the tongue, but it's
key
cool.
step tutorial. Yeah. So we've sort of branded we seem to brand a lot of acronyms too. So
they're
like
usually 3 letters.
Yeah. Even EGP, which really the acronym of Evergreen Profits is just EP, but EGP rolls off the tongue better.
Well, I think there was something. It goes back to the days of us chatting with Josh Bartlett. Actually, remember that we were always talking about acronyms. It's like 3 letters. It's like he had Easy Video Player, EVP. He had
EVS.
EVS. Thrivecart doesn't.
Yeah, Thrivecart. We just call it TC.
You screwed it up, Josh. Love you. But no, it is kind of interesting. But I like. We should try out some longer acronyms. All that to say is that
we're going to start branding PodHacker, though. That's going to be our next big brand that you're going to hear from us a lot.
That is, yes. I don't know if we can make a framework out of those letters, but that could be a good brand name. Yes,
that would be interesting. Actually, that's almost too long of a word to make an acronym out of.
Yes.
But people do it out of like success, and like I think Alex Sharfin had a long acronym too. I don't remember what it was.
You can pull it off. Let's think about it. Hey, if you have the best acronym for, well, you know what PodHacker is probably most. It's a newer concept we're toying with.
Well, it's really a term that we kind of came up with is like someone who growth hacks the growth of a podcast, right? Sure. So it's just a combination of podcaster and growth hacker
and monetization of the podcast.
Well, yeah, that's something that we're going to talk about. But really, where the name came from is literally podcaster plus growth hacker. It's a pod hacker, but
he's a pod hacker. All that to say is you might see a challenge from us. Maybe you won't.
Maybe it'll be around pod hacker. I don't know.
Well, I mean, so that's kind of like what I was going to say just for context here is like, okay, well, here's the scenario we have in our business right now, and we have not committed to how we're going to do this yet, but we know that we want to extend our, really, it's like we curate content for, you on the podcast, but then we also do that in the form of newsletters. But there's a deeper level we want to go with folks like Marley, where we can do like a deep dive session for like an hour or so or longer, where it's very interactive, live Q&A with her, with us, and Marley's just an example here. She has not agreed, or we haven't even asked her. But the point being is like, we want to have a higher level membership that allows more, us involved, you involved, and all of that. So, that's where we're toying with, like, how do we roll this out? Yeah,
more access and a deeper level of education and a community element, really. It's like those 3 pillars.
So then you look at a mechanism like challenge funnels, like this, and Roland is one of those guys that have told us, like, start a challenge. and maybe it's as simple as like, do the dang thing, test it. And because it is a perfect way to indoctrinate people into like a new idea or a thing that, like, what you just described as Pod Hacker. There's elements that we can break down, and during a challenge, now we're allowing ourselves to introduce this to people in a way that makes sense, follows a framework, which is going to happen with all of this as well.
Yeah.
And the challenge could be a good model for that.
Yeah. I have a prediction after this episode. I have a prediction that within 60 days after this episode coming out, we'll get emails from at least 3 people saying that they launched successful challenges after listening to this episode.
I believe it. 3. We want to hear from you.
And I'm saying minimum of 3. So I'm saying at least 3 people are going to reach out and say, I listened to that episode, I followed that advice, I took action, and I had a 21-day challenge, and it freaking crushed it for me.
Bam, do it. And then tag us on Instagram or wherever, and tag Marley too.
Yeah.
Because she's all about Instagram, and you'll get some FaceTime, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Give her credit. So, yeah, let's do that. Create some challenges here, huh?
Yeah, I want to hear about your challenges. I want to
hear about ours too.
Underwater basket weaving 21-day challenge. Who's going to make it?
Name. You gotta have a better name. You gotta stand out, Matt.
Yeah, we'll just turn it into an acronym.
Okay, cool. That works. Everyone will understand it.
There you go.
Cool.
Well, the website again is infinitecashflowblueprint.com. So go there. That's where you can go and learn more and get on the challenge and get deep dive on what Marley's teaching.
Yeah, go dive deeper. I can only imagine it goes immensely deeper than what we covered here in just, less than an hour, where she's a full-blown thing on it. So definitely deep dive in there. And if we choose to do this, we probably will do the same thing. All right, so wrapping it up, of course, we got the action guides, the notes for this episode, and I know we bounced around a little bit in the actual episode with a couple of the topics. So our goal will be to try to streamline that as much as possible. So it's nice and easy for you to follow along. So if you missed anything, go get the notes. They're at flowchartgroup.com, and they're there for 2 weeks free. It's flowchartgroup.com, and you get access to our community as well.
Yes, sir.
And plug your email address in there. Facebook looks a little weird, but that is the opt-in page.
Yeah. It'll be a request to join the group page. There's 3 questions there. One of them's your email. You fill out your email. That's how we know where to send the notes to.
Yeah.
So make sure you do that. This episode is also sponsored by Easy Webinar, the sweet ass tool by Casey Zeman.
Sweet ass
tool.
It is.
And, Marley was talking, she actually brought up, you can do live webinars, you can do automated webinars, you can do a hybrid webinar, whatever sort of works for you. Well, guess what? Easy Webinar does all those styles of webinars.
Use it for your graduation webinar at the very end.
Exactly.
There you go. You could stream it around live. Yeah, pre-recorded. Automate this bad boy if you want to, which you said you could as well with the challenges, pre-record stuff. So yeah, Easy Webinar does it all. It pretty much lives up perfectly to its name and even deeper down. So there's even cool stats and all these.
Dude, it blows away difficultwebinar.com.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
Don't even go to that website. You don't want to go there. Just go to easywebinar.com. Yes, go to easywebinar.com, but make sure to go to /hustle. easywebinar.com/hustle gets you some sweet hooked up discounts on one of them plans you choose. So go check it out.
Percentage off, but you got to put that /hustle because if you just go to easywebinar.com, you're not going to get the hookup discount for being a Hustle and Flowchart listener. So go to /hustle.
Being a hustler, right?
Yeah. Everybody, all you hustlers out there, go to easywebinar.com/hustle.
I am offended. I am the hustle of this relationship.
He is. We call him Joe Hustle Fear.
No, not really.
We don't. And
That's not
That's
accurate.
just too much. That's just too much words. I would if it was
Too
less
much.
words. But
Too much words.
Alrighty, we're just getting delirious. We'll go ahead and wrap this one up for you. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this show or you know somebody else that's thinking about running a challenge, point them to this episode.
Share it around.
This episode was a blueprint for how to run your own challenge. So if somebody's thinking of running a challenge, point them here. They will love this.
I like the inflection.
I know, and I'm actually like pointing with my fingers,
Where are
even
you
though nobody
pointing?
can see it.
Where are you pointing?
Right now at my clipboard.
At your clipboard.
Yeah.
Which word are you pointing to?
Infinite cash flow
There you go.
blueprint.
There you go. Another call to action.
Yeah.
For you, Marley. Go get it. All right. Well, yeah,
So-
share this around. If someone's thinking about challenges or just need an explanation of what the heck a challenge is, just share this episode with them.
Yep.
They will thank you, and we will
Subscribe on whatever platform you listen on, because every little subscriber helps, and it helps us climb the ranks in those platforms so more people can listen to this show. So hit that subscribe button on whatever app you're listening to right now, and we'll really appreciate it.
All right. We're out. Thank you. Love you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. Before taking the time to listen, we want to give you something a little bit special. Every single episode that we do, we actually have somebody on our team take notes. We basically have a Cliff's Notes version of every episode where you can go and find all of the tips and tactics that they laid out, all of the resources that they laid out, all the good stuff from this episode. We actually have a nice, simple notes version that you can find on our website. So go to evergreenprofits.com, find this episode that you just listened to, and give us your email address and we'll send you the notes. Thanks for listening.